Hello and welcome to EWTN Pro-Life Weekly, your weekly dose of the top pro-life news and issues, all from a Catholic perspective. I am your host, Catherine Hadro, in our Washington, D.C. studio. Thank you for joining us. In this week's show, a bill in California would require college campuses have the abortion pill. Lila Rose joins us with reaction from Los Angeles. An Alabama state lawmaker makes an appalling case for abortion. We speak out. And this.
I thought that if Governor Cuomo was alive, then his parents didn't abort him, so he shouldn't abort the babies.
Hear how a young boy hopes to convert New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. But first, our top story: multiple federal judges have taken action to block the Trump administration's pro-life Protect Life policy. The Protect Life policy was set to begin in early May, but federal judges in Washington State, California, and Oregon all issued injunctions which bar the regulation from going into effect. The policy prohibits groups that receive Title X dollars from performing or referring for abortions. It would more strictly enforce existing regulations that bar the use of Title X funds for elective abortion procedures. The three judges were all confirmed during the Obama administration. Meanwhile, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and congressional Democrats are seeking to block the Protect Life rule in the Labor, Health, and Human Services Appropriations Bill. Abortion advocates often refer to the Protect Life policy as the, quote, gag rule, claiming it censors healthcare providers from talking about abortion. But it does not prohibit non-directive counseling about the procedure. Joining us now to discuss these cases is Sarah Pitlyk, special counsel for the Thomas More Society, a law firm which has filed an amicus brief in support of the Protect Life rule. Sarah joins us from St. Louis, Missouri. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Sarah, first of all, several federal judges now have blocked the Protect Life rule. What's their justification for this? What are they saying?
Well, the issue in the case is whether the Department of Health and Human Services essentially had an adequate justification for the rule. And the judges are essentially saying that no, they don't believe that the rule was adequately justified by the Department of Health and Human Services before it promulgated it.
And Sarah, clarify for us, is the Protect Life rule in keeping with existing federal law?
Well, the Title X, the statute, has been in existence since 1970, and it has always prohibited the use of Title X funds in programs where abortion is a method of family planning. The new regulations give effect to that prohibition in a more concrete way than the recent regulatory regime has done. There's very good historical evidence also that this is a reasonable application of the Title X statute and its prohibition on the use of funds in that way, because in the 1980s, a similar set of regulations was promulgated under Title X, and those regulations were challenged all the way up to the Supreme Court, which did hold that they were a reasonable interpretation of the statute. So the Department of Health and Human Services is on very solid ground, both on the basis of the statutory terms and historical evidence that these particular regulations are a reasonable interpretation of it.
Can you explain then the action that the Thomas More Society, the law firm you work for, took in support of the Protect Life rule?
Sure. Well, we are representing the Susan B. Anthony List, which is a wonderful pro-life advocacy organization. And they have done lots of work on this, many other pro-life issues. But specifically in this case, there's some research that one of their research divisions has done in the past about basically abuse of federal funds through the Medicaid programs by abortion, through the Medicaid program by abortion providers. So one of the arguments against the rule is that there's allegedly no evidence that abortion providers have abused Title X funds. But what the Susan B. Anthony List is pointing out in its brief, among other things, is that there is evidence of the same entities abusing federal funds in the Medicaid context, and that's not irrelevant to the question of whether there should be concerns in this context. In fact, because of the way the programs are administered, it's supposedly easier to abuse Title X funds because of the way they're granted than it would be to abuse Medicaid funds. And we've seen Medicaid abuse, and so there's no reason to think that there might not be similar abuse going on in the Title X context, or at least the government has a legitimate reason to be concerned about that.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Sarah. And finally, what are the next steps towards implementing the Protect Life rule? Do you foresee this being a long battle in the courts?
It probably will go on for a while. The first step that's happened, as you said, is that it's been enjoined at a preliminary phase in the litigation. What that means is that even if this injunction holds, the case is not over. It would have to then be fully litigated before a permanent injunction was put in place. And before that litigation gets started, there will most likely be an appeal of the preliminary injunction. So we'll go to the appeals court now, or the government will go to the appeals court now to try to get the preliminary injunction reversed. And however that turns out, after probably many months, it will then probably return to the trial court for a full litigation of the issues. When the regulations are implemented depends, of course, on whether the courts lift the injunction against their implementation, and that's anybody's guess.
Well, thank you for walking us through this and helping us to better understand these cases. Sarah Pitlyk, Special Counsel for the Thomas More Society, thank you.
Thank you.
And joining us in studio for continued analysis is Marilyn Musgrave, a former U.S. representative for the state of Colorado and now the Vice President of Government Affairs for the Susan B. Anthony List, a group working with the Thomas More Society law firm. Welcome back to the show.
It's good to be here.
Thanks for being here. Congresswoman, several federal judges now have blocked the Protect Life rule. But what do you think will ultimately be held up in the courts?
Well, first of all, to be expected from the Ninth Circuit. You know, we always get these kinds of rulings from them. But you can look back to the 90s to Russ versus Sullivan, and I have every confidence that this will be held up in court because it's just statutory, it's regulations based upon statutes. And you know, the abortion industry always tries to pretend like abortion is health care, abortion is contraception. It is neither.
Right. What does this tell us about the role of the courts in upholding pro-life policy?
Well, when I think of this president, the most pro-life president ever, his legacy will be the courts. And Catherine, I think of my children and my grandchildren. This will be for decades to come. And the courts, they've been so skewed towards the pro-abortion lobby. Any state effort, any restriction, a modest restriction on abortion has been struck down by the courts. We'll have new judges, and I really believe that this particular thing will be upheld by the court.
And as this is all happening in the courts, it's coming as congressional Democrats and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi are seeking to block the Protect Life rule in the Labor, Health and Human Services Appropriations Bill. What should we know about those efforts happening?
Well, first of all, when you think of Appropriations Committee, it's a very powerful committee, has 12 subcommittees, there are 30 Democrats on it, 23 Republicans. There's some very strong pro-life heroes on there. There's a commitment by Kay Granger from Texas, the ranking member. That means that the top Republican on the committee, Martha Roby's on there, Tom Cole. There's some great pro-life heroes, and they'll be fighting every step of the way. But the Democrats on that committee, and I hate to classify that party in such a way, they are beholden to Planned Parenthood and the abortion lobby. So they're going to be doing everything they can to erode the riders, which is another word for the amendments that have been pro-life through the years, and go after this Protect Life rule. But the beautiful thing is the Republicans will stand strong, they'll make the case, and if it does happen in committee, the worst case scenario, the president will veto it. We have that commitment from our president. If it weakens the pro-life cause, he will veto.
So let's talk about this policy. How do you think the Protect Life rule will truly uphold and save lives?
Well, it will save lives, definitely, because when you think of abortion providers, you know, they love to be in, you know, the same building with the family planning people. They love to co-locate. They love to be able to refer. And now this president, the Secretary of HHS, Azar, boldly say, don't pretend like it's family planning. No, this is Title X dollars, taxpayer dollars, going for family planning. And if you're doing family planning, you can't do abortion. You can't refer, you can't co-locate. So lives will be saved. And Catherine, we know money is fungible.
Wow.
So if those abortion providers get family planning dollars, they can use them for abortion, taking the lives of innocent children.
Finally, there was some other major news, major pro-life news. The Trump administration finalized new regulations to protect the conscience rights of healthcare workers. Can you speak about this and the significance of this update?
Well, under the Obama administration, that was not enforced at all. So now under this president, under this administration, they're very serious. And what good news this week with this regulation on conscience protections. Catherine, at a time in our country when we're wanting more people to get into health care, we need more doctors, we need nurses. We don't want them in the position as a nurse Kathy DiCarlo in New York was, having to assist in a late-term abortion to keep her job. We wanted these people to be able to have their deeply held beliefs protected.
It's very big, and we're just grateful to have your analysis
good
and all
week.
of it. Yes,
Yes.
it's a lot going on. And again, thank you so much for being here. Marilyn Musgrave, Vice President of Government Affairs for the Susan B. Anthony List. Thank you.
It's a good week.
The Trump administration finalized new regulations to strengthen enforcement of federal laws that protect the conscience rights of healthcare personnel and other entities who do not want to participate in abortion. This is a huge victory for conscience rights and for pro-life healthcare workers. Which brings us to this week's call to action. Thank President Donald Trump and Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar for delivering on the promise to protect conscience. Go to ProLifeWeekly.com. Again, that website is ProLifeWeekly.com. Here, after typing in some of your basic information, you can send a thank you message directly to the administration. Last year, the HHS department created a new division to investigate conscience violations, which is an important step to protect pro-life doctors and nurses who have been forced to assist in abortion procedures, for example. These new finalized regulations just announced strengthen protections for pro-life healthcare workers because abortion is not healthcare and no healthcare professional should ever be forced to participate in the destruction of human life. Be sure to send in your thank you to President Trump and Secretary Azar for protecting conscience rights and fighting discrimination against pro-life healthcare workers. Go to ProLifeWeekly.com. Turning now to our next segment, a California bill that would require college campuses provide abortion pills on site advances in the state legislature. A California Senate committee passed Senate Bill 24, which would require all public universities in California provide medication abortions, or the abortion pill, on site beginning in January of 2023. It would also create a fund to provide a $200,000 grant to each public university student health center to pay for the cost of offering abortion pills. Former Governor Jerry Brown vetoed a similar bill last year, saying it was, quote, not necessary. The state's current governor, Gavin Newsom, commented before the election he would have supported the bill. The next stop for the pro-abortion bill is the Committee on Appropriations. And joining us now for a reaction on the California college campus abortion pill bill is Lila Rose, president of Live Action. She joins us from Live Action's headquarters in Los Angeles, California. Lila, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Catherine.
Can you remind our viewers, how does the abortion pill work and what are its unique risks?
Yes. So the abortion pill is the RU486 chemical abortion. It's in the first trimester, so you can't take it past then. And it involves two drugs. So the first drug that you take, mifepristone, is in order to target the child for death. So it basically starves the child of nutrients. This is this delicately, newly formed little embryo that is now going to be starved to death by weakening the lining of the placenta. Second of all, it induces labor. So now these girls or women are miscarrying, and this happens in their homes. So they're having a miscarriage in their bathroom, in their bedroom. And with this bill, these girls, these young women, some of them just 19 years old, would be having miscarriages in their college dormitories.
That is devastating. Lila, if this bill is signed into law in California, what do you foresee being the repercussion on college campuses?
Well, there's multiple repercussions. So first of all, there's more deaths for children in the womb. I mean, this is making the abortion pill, this deadly drug, as accessible as Tylenol. And girls can walk into college health campuses, which are not equipped. These campuses are not equipped to deal with the many consequences of the abortion pill. So girls as young as 19 are walking in, can get the abortion pill, are then self-aborting in their dorms. And these are very risky drugs. Up until 2017, they killed 22 people. And the college campuses are not equipped for the risk. In fact, that was one of the reasons that even college administrators came out against this bill when it was put forward last year, and then it was ultimately vetoed by Jerry Brown. So this whole idea, then Governor Jerry Brown, this whole idea that the access is needed, that girls don't have access. I mean, Medicaid pays for abortions in the state of California. There's plenty of abortion to go around in California. This is now trying to make college campuses abortion centers.
Lila, then what is your message to California Governor, your governor, Gavin Newsom, as he begins to consider this bill?
Well, I'm really concerned because Governor Gavin Newsom last year, before he became governor, said that he would have signed this bill into law. So I think he is ready and waiting to sign this new version of the bill into law if it were to hit his desk. This is a huge concern. I think Governor Gavin Newsom is incredibly pro-abortion. He always has been. And it's a huge issue that needs to be fought back against by advocates, pro-life advocates in the state, and college administrators, because they realize they're not equipped to deal with girls miscarrying by force in college dormitories, some of them co-ed in their bedrooms. They're not equipped to deal with the emergency situations that could arise. And this is incredibly anti-life. This is actually making college campuses abortion facilities.
What are alternative policy options you would get behind, Lila, that truly do support women and mothers on college campuses?
So this is something I actually saw personally when I was a student at a California university at UCLA, the complete lack of pregnancy resources and parenting resources for students. So a lot of these universities claim to be pro-choice and pro-advancement and empowerment of girls and women. But when it comes to pregnancy, there's usually really one choice, and that is abortion. Referrals for abortion, and now with this bill, actually handing out dangerous chemical abortion pills. So what I would recommend and what we need to fight for in the state of California is actual choices for girls, that they have the option, if they do become pregnant on campus, to have the support that they deserve, so that they don't feel the pressure and the coercion from their own school to have an abortion, which is going to devastate them potentially physically and certainly emotionally.
Absolutely. We need you there in California. Lila Rose, president of Live Action, thank you so much.
Thanks, Catherine.
When we come back,
if he ever found something like the 10 Commandments and he would find out the fifth commandment is thou shalt not kill, I think he might confess and become a big pro-life person.
hear how a young Catholic boy hopes to change a pro-abortion governor's heart. Stay tuned as EWTN Pro-Life Weekly continues after this break. As a mother comforts her child, so I will comfort you. In Jerusalem, you shall find your comfort. Isaiah chapter 66, verse 33. A beautiful scripture verse on motherhood as we celebrate Mother's Day. A happy Mother's Day to all biological, adoptive, and spiritual mothers, especially to my own mother. I love you, Mom. Welcome back to EWTN Pro-Life Weekly. I am your host, Catherine Hadro. A state representative in Alabama recently gave an appalling defense of abortion. That's this week's Speak Out segment. The Alabama House of Representatives recently approved the Human Life Protection Act, legislation that would make committing abortions in Alabama a felony. During debate on the legislation last week, State Representative John Rogers, a Democrat, offered a particularly shocking defense of abortion.
Some kids are unwanted. So you kill them now, kill them later. You bring them in the world unwanted, unloved. Then you send them to the electric chair. So you kill them now, kill them later.
Rogers quickly faced backlash ranging from Alabama's pro-abortion Democratic Senator Doug Jones to the president's own son, Donald Trump Jr., who weighed in on Twitter, calling the remarks, quote, stomach-curling. When Rogers was asked about that specific tweet, the state representative doubled down and replied like this.
That's a very, very good defense I have for abortion right to him. Look at him and say, why should have aborted him when he was born? He would have made that stupid statement, right?
There is a lot I could say about such despicable remarks, but I want to start by saying there is no such thing as an unwanted or an unloved child. God makes each and every one of us in His image and likeness and designs us each for a unique purpose. We are all His beloved children. The suggestion that children could be killed now or later shows a complete disregard for human life. Rogers should be using his power as a legislator to protect these children, not to sentence them to death. To add to the shock here, according to the website for the state of Alabama's House of Representatives, Rogers identifies as Catholic. He especially should know that we are called to stand up for the most vulnerable. Here's my recommendation for this lawmaker. Representative Rogers, it's about a 2-hour drive from the state legislature to the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament in Hanceville, Alabama. I highly suggest you get in your car and take some time for prayer and reflection. I will pray that Mother Angelica, another Alabama Catholic, intercedes for your soul and your heart. Remember, there is always something you can do to counter today's culture of death. Follow this week's call to action. Thank President Trump and HHS Secretary Azar for delivering on the promise to protect conscience. Go to ProLifeWeekly.com. Finally, we look at how sometimes it's the youngest among us who can be the real leaders. Here is this week's Pro-Life Focus.
Congratulations to Bill.
After New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signed the Extreme Reproductive Health Act into law earlier this year, he celebrated. He lit the World Trade Center in pink light, a crude contrast to the dark law, which now permits abortion up until the moment of birth in the state. Pro-lifers have pushed back. This past weekend, thousands gathered in Times Square for the Alive from New York event. Where the large crowd got to hear a baby's live heartbeat from Abby Johnson's own ultrasound. Also in the Empire State, another younger New Yorker is bringing more pro-life hope, but in a smaller size.
Hi, my name is Jack and I am age 9. I'm praying for Governor Cuomo. Now, the reason I'm praying for Governor Cuomo is because of the bill he passed, which you all know of.
9-year-old Jack Timmons of Central New York recently founded ConvertCuomo.com. It's a website where you can pledge to pray for Governor Cuomo, that he may have a conversion of heart and protect all life, especially life in the womb. Governor Cuomo identifies as Catholic, often invoking Pope Francis, but his fellow New York Catholic, Jack, is quick to call out the politician for this abortion law.
The day the bill passed, the next morning my wife explained at the breakfast table what had happened, and he I think was just kind of fired up, and he just said, we need to do something about this. And she actually recorded him walking around the house thinking of ideas. Maybe we could do this, maybe we could do this.
Maybe you can start off by being holy, by saying the Holy Face Chaplet, and I can send, I might send my Holy Face Chaplet thing to him.
That's a nice idea.
Jack's original idea was less high-tech. He thought every New York Catholic church could have a prayer box for Governor Cuomo's conversion. The Catholic boy wrote a letter explaining his idea to Cardinal Timothy Dolan and the Franciscan friars of the renewal. The friars then suggested to Jack he should start a website instead, which is when Jack turned to his dad for help.
Even then, he had to remind me a few times to build it. It wasn't on the top priority for me at the time, but I thought, well, knock and you shall receive. So he just kept reminding me, and I said, well, let's do this. Let's build this website. And I think we probably thought, Jack, that we would get maybe 100 people responding, a few family and friends. We had no idea. Yeah, we had no idea that we'd have over 1,000 already, and it seems to be growing.
The concept is simple. Prayer is powerful, something this little boy has already learned in his few years. It's such a beautiful idea because it's all about prayer. Jack, why do you think prayer is so important?
Prayer is important because prayer saved my life. Prayer saved my life because when I was born, I had a hard time breathing, so I had to be brought to another hospital and hooked up to a breathing machine. While I was being driven there, my mom and dad told a lot of people, and they told their friends, and their friends told their friends, and so there were hundreds of people praying for me, and prayer works.
And the prayers have been pouring in. What kind of responses have you gotten back? Have people been sending in their messages?
Yeah, everybody's been sending in their messages. My dad prints them out and puts them in a big box so I can read them. Would you like to hear some of them?
I would love that.
This person said, "Dear Jesus, please open the governor's heart to accept, protect, and defend the gift of human life. Help him to know how much you love him." This person said, "We will pray and fast for his conversion and that he sees the truth behind what he signed into law. We pray for his forgiveness, and we pray that he becomes a voice for the unborn and defender of defenselessness. We will be praying rosaries and be doing 3-day water fast."
Those are just two of the more than 1,000 prayers that have been pledged on the Convert Cuomo website in just about 3 weeks' time. The Timmons reached 1,000 prayers by Divine Mercy Sunday, are aiming for 2,000 by Ascension Thursday, and have another goal to mark 9 months since the abortion law was signed.
Our hope is that we can get as many parishes and priests offering Holy Masses on Sunday, September 22nd, for the conversion of pro-abortion politicians such as Governor Cuomo.
It's a beautiful goal and a reminder that sometimes the greatest inspiration to save the youngest lives can come from the young among us. Jack, you're 9 years old. If someone else is watching and they're a young kid like you and they think, well, I'm young, I can't start a project or a website or anything, what do you want to say to them?
Well, they can start a project and website like this because I was thinking maybe it's the kids who could change the bad laws like this.
That little boy inspires me so much. If you want to join the growing movement to pray for pro-abortion New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, go to convertcuomo.com. Let's help them reach their prayer goal. That does it for this edition of EWTN Pro-Life Weekly. We'll see you next week. Until then, I'd love to hear from you. You can email us at prolifeweekly@ewtn.com or look for us all over social media. Just search for EWTN Pro-Life. And remember, life is a gift. Your life is a gift. God bless.